Let's look at our objectives, what we will cover in this session, and also let's look at what we will not cover here. We will be covering end-to-end process involved in onboarding, including the LCS onboarding for finance and operations apps. And when we say finance and operations apps such as finance, supply chain management, commerce, and human resources. It also means that we will not cover the onboarding of customer engagement apps. We will also show the steps involved in project onboarding. We will demo the LCS project onboarding here. We will cover the FastTrack engagement, FastTrack program, the new nomination process. Nomination is a new area for finance and operations apps starting January 1st, 2021. So we will double click into nomination area. Towards the end, we will touch base on success by design framework. We have been conducting training since January 2021 to all the regions, Americas, EMEA, and APAC, to all the partners. And we will share the information how you can attend training in the end here as well. What we will not cover is the licensing part in depth. We will not talk about the whole process of buying license in Dynamics 365 and what license to buy, such as like full, attach, team, activity, the types of licenses. And we'll also not talk about overall implementation aspects such as analysis, design phase, test phase, deploy, all those other phases here. All right. Let's look at our agenda here. First of all, we will cover why onboarding matters. Why should we emphasize on the right onboarding in the project? Then we will have a step-by-step onboarding process. We'll explain the FastTrack engagement, the FastTrack program, and as well as the nomination process here. We will have a demo of LCS project onboarding, and we will cover the significance of onboarding fields. We do get a lot of great information there. And we do rely on that information in LCS onboarding. We'll have do's and don'ts section on onboarding. And that's one of great area here. We will share our experiences, what we see in FastTrack for so many projects. And based on that, we came up with these do's and don'ts for you. So definitely stay tuned on that one. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll explain the success by design framework at high level here. And we'll also have a Q&A in the end. You can always ask questions on the chat, and we do have moderators here who will be answering the questions throughout the chat, throughout the session. All right. So let's double click into why onboarding matters. Okay, let's understand why right onboarding requires. This is one of the most crucial time in your project. As you're just starting in the project, you're brand new, and you just initiated your project here. This is the time you are meeting your partner, your customer first time. You get to know your team members, both partner side, customer side. You basically set your founding stone here, right? You define your vision, you define your goals. It is important to define the measurable goals though, so that you can track those throughout the implementation. And in the end, once you are live, you can scrutinize the outcome. Did you achieve those goals or not? And you can have postmortem on those too. So these are some of the main areas why the right onboarding matters. You always want to start right. You may also look for engaging the FastTrack. There is a nomination process, and we will talk about the engagement models. Of course, our key goal is to you have a successful implementation. We use success by design framework in all the implementations. So we will talk about that too. You also start gathering your business requirements, project tasks, project risks, project management. And for this, you will use some kind of management tool like Azure DevOps. This is one of the great tools to manage the whole application lifecycle. starting from requirements to fit gap to design, version control, doing the builds, deployments, testing, test results, and bugs, and many, many more with the DevOps. So definitely you set up that in the beginning as well. You select your team, who in your project team members, what is each team member's role from the partner side, from the customer side, and then you know what is expected from different team members, who to reach at both partner side and customer side in the project. Finally, you also define your environment planning, starting deploying your first set of environments, starting with maybe demo, with the sandbox, with the gold environments. And we do have a great Techtalk available on environment planning as well, already done. We'll share the link in this session too. One last thing here, we do rely on the onboarding information you provide us here. You provide it via nomination or via LCS onboarding or even via direct FastTrack engagement. This information is crucial to us. What you implementation team provide here is what we get at our end. And based on that, we take the appropriate decisions, the actions, and we can plan for things, resources at our end. Okay, so we covered why onboarding matters. Now let's look at the step-by-step process for onboarding. So what are the steps involved in onboarding? What it takes to have a great start? At high level, it's 4-step process. First and foremost is buying the license. You need to have the appropriate license subscription at your tenant. After buying license, you need to create the LCS project. LCS is mandatory tool to be used to manage throughout your implementation for all finance and operations apps. After creating LCS project, you need to complete LCS onboarding, LCS project onboarding, and lastly, FastTrack engagement. It's optional step. If you like to engage with FastTrack, then you need to submit the nomination, and we will discuss more in depth on the nomination and FastTrack engagement coming soon. Even if you are not engaging with FastTrack, first 3 steps are still required for all finance and operations apps. All right, let's take on the first step, the licensing piece. Licensing means Dynamics 365 license subscription. It requires Dynamics 365 license subscription on the right tenant. At broad level, there are 2 options to choose from. You either go with CSP, we call it Cloud Solution Provider, or you go with volume licensing, which is VL, or we also call it Enterprise Agreement, EAs or MPSAs as well. CSP is partner-centric option to buy the license, and volume licensing enterprise agreement is through volume licensing resellers such as SoftwareOne. No matter how you buy license, you must arrive at a state where you have active license subscription on the correct tenant. And we will hit on the tenant piece also in coming slides too. Okay, yeah. So to have finance and operations licenses, you need to have Azure Active Directory, AAD also we call it in short, AAD Tenant. We'll highlight some more points related to tenant here. We do see where customers have purchased licenses against the wrong tenant, and then once they realize the issue, then they need to get the tenant corrected, which is time consuming and it can be avoided. That's why before buying the licenses, check what AAD tenant you will be using to procure the licenses. Okay, so we completed the first step, buying the licenses. The second step is creating the LCS project. Before we talk about creating the LCS project, let's understand in a brief what is LCS. LCS is a Microsoft Azure-based collaboration portal that provides a unifying collaborative environment along with a set of regular updates and that help you to manage all application lifecycle in your implementation. You get regular updates for your environments, including sandbox, production. Once license is activated, you have verified on your tenant. Then you go to lcs.dynamics.com using the domain credentials. And that will take you to this welcome page like you see in the right. You accept the agreement and system will generate a LCS project of implementation type for your license subscription. We recommend that once one of your tenants global administrator create the LCS project, all global admins in your tenant will get organization administrator role in LCS. Other than global admins, whoever first time from your tenant log into lcsdynamics.com, who will create the LCS project, also get the organization administrator role in LCS. Organization administrator can manage all organization users in LCS, by the way. One more thing I would like to highlight here. There are Go local LCS projects as well, such as Government Cloud for UAE, for France, etc. They will need to get their tenant whitelisted for LCS project creation. And it's applied for both customers and partners who want to work on those Go local projects. Okay, so we created the LCS project now. Now we are on the third step, which is LCS onboarding, LCS project onboarding. We need to complete that as well. Customer and partner team should meet and gather the information required for project onboarding. What are the things we ask in project onboarding? The project vision, project goals, how many users who will be using the application, what are the key areas you will be using in Dynamics 365, such as warehouse management, MRP, what are the other apps you will be using, such as customer engagement apps, and dual write, will you be using that or not? We do ask, will you upgrade from AX 2012 or not? So those are the significance fields, important fields in project onboarding. One more thing, FastTrack team sends email through Dynamics 365 onboarding to project users as a reminder to complete the project onboarding once LCS project is created. Who do we reach when we say project users? In LCS, there are project users. Those are the users who will get email from FastTrack, starting from onboarding all the way up to preparing for go live. That's why we do recommend you to add appropriate users in LCS with the right roles and with email enabled accounts. One last thing here, you will see message in Action Center to complete the onboarding LCS. Also, you will not be able to deploy any Microsoft managed environment or engage with FastTrack without completing the LCS onboarding. So this is a crucial step. Okay, so we are almost done with onboarding. Now you're planning to move to implement phase of your project where you will go deeper into implementation. And I will hand over to Tommy to talk about the FastTrack engagement here.
Thank you, Saurabh, and thank you for that introduction. I will go and talk about the FastTrack engagement. And maybe you've not had any engagement with FastTrack before, so let me talk about what FastTrack is in general. It is a Microsoft-wide concept that exists for all online services. And the Dynamics 365 FastTrack team is part of the Microsoft engineering team and we all have the common goal of accelerating and assisting you in Dynamics 365 implementations. And we want to help the customers to go live with confidence. Now, this then also means that the FastTrack mission is to help customers implement Dynamics 365 solutions with quality and speed, and that we also want the partners to deliver the same high quality. We believe that when our partners succeed, then the customer succeeds, and FastTrack at the core is a customer success program. We believe that we can do this by providing practical guidance on cloud deployment, solution architecture patterns, and recommended practices, and assist both customers and partners in overcoming implementation challenges. Now, we want to get ahead of common challenges and pitfalls by getting the solutioning validated as early as possible. Now, we base this validation on the experience from the solution architects, the field, and through the engagement that we have been interacting with you customers and partners across a multitude of implementations. We also tap into how the product itself changes and how it gets improved by the product group when they innovate on our services and the platform. Now, with this, there is a steadily growing body of recommended practices, which we try to share through either published docs articles, free webinars, and tech talks like the one you're watching right now. We really want customers to avoid unnecessary failures and pitfalls. And at the end of the implementation, they want to have a solution that stands a high quality. Now, when the customer is getting ready for the go live, we do require them to go through a go live assessment. And this is where we try to help them identify and mitigate potential blocking issues. And with this, we want them to succeed with the go live, which in turn increase the overall adoption of the product and the platform as a whole. We want the overall success to help drive customer confidence in the product and the platform. And we want partners to be able to have a repetitive success over each delivery, meaning reuse of recommendations and avoiding unnecessary challenges. So as Saurabh just mentioned, as of 1st of January 2021, the FastTrack program for Dynamics 365, it changed slightly. With this change, we want to serve more customers and further strengthen our partners. We are aiming for one consistent approach across the Dynamics 365 apps. And to achieve this, we made some changes to the FastTrack engagement model. You may have already seen how our engagement differed between the products in the Dynamics 365 portfolio. So with this unification, this should make things a little simpler for you. In this new model, you will be able to nominate projects for the Dynamics 365 FastTrack engagement. Through the nomination process, FastTrack will consider how we will engage with you on the execution of what we call success by design, workshop, and reviews. We will be unifying the engagement for both CE and F&O consistently across the whole Dynamics 365 FastTrack program. Previously, CE had a nomination process and finance operations apps did not. Now and going forward, all projects that wish to benefit from the FastTrack engagement, they will have to be nominated either by the Microsoft field or by the partner. Now, if we look at the Microsoft-led engagement, we will continue to assign a dedicated solution architect from Microsoft FastTrack team to the projects, and we will continue to be the Microsoft FastTrack team that leads the execution of these success by design workshops with the participation from the partner and the customer. The partner will be required to have gold or silver cloud business application competency for the nomination to be valid. Looking at the partner-led success by design execution, this is where you'll see the most changes. Here we will also require the partner to have gold or silver cloud business application competency. Again, the project must be nominated either by the partner or the Microsoft field. For finance and operations apps, we have previously been supporting these through the Essentials program. On the CE side, most of these customers, they went live without any FastTrack engagement. What we've done now is to support our partners with the delivery of Success by Design. This means partners will be executing the mandatory Success by Design workshops with the customer and share their findings with the Microsoft FastTrack team. The projects will be assigned a partner program manager from the FastTrack team to work with the partner along the way. And Microsoft will provide access to solution architects for any architectural guidance as needed. For all other projects, you will see the least changes in the program. On finance and operations apps, we were engaging with these customers as part of the essentials. And they had to go through a go-live assessment before getting their production environment. This will remain the same, but the process will be a self-serve process. There is no direct engagement from individual members at the FastTrack team for these projects. It is a self-serve model. And these projects are relying on their implementation team and the partner to lead them to success. However, there is nothing from preventing partners to start and execute the Success by Design workshops for these projects. Beyond that, the FastTrack team is always working hard to publish proactive guidance in a scalable manner, either on Docs or Techtalks or Microsoft Learn or any other channel as appropriate. So again, just a few words about the requirements for the partners who wish to nominate projects for FastTrack engagement. We will be considering the customer investment and the implementation scope. And still, we do require the selected implementation partner to have the gold or silver cloud business application competency. We also expect the core project team members like solution architects, project managers, lead consultants, that they have completed the Success by Design training and also completed the knowledge check. The partner can themselves check their competency level on the Partner Center. Success by Design training is run and shared by the FastTrack team. And you will find this information and how to get access to this from the docs articles. And we will also be publishing links to the on-demand consumption of this training in this presentation. So let's talk a little bit about the nomination. Like I mentioned, it is the partner or the Microsoft account team or Microsoft field that nominates customers for FastTrack engagement. Partners, they'll do this through a nomination portal, and Microsoft will be using some internal tool. Now, regardless of who does the nomination, it is important that we get as much valid and correct information as possible. We want to know about the scope of the project with as much details as you can share. This includes what part of the Dynamics 365 apps and platform that you plan to utilize and how this is planned to impact your business. We want to know things like the tenant and all the things that you can share of detail. We want you to consider the nomination if you see that the annual spend is above around 100,000 US American dollars or above, of course. The project might span over a period of time that is longer than a year. So consider the scope and the annual spend. Then we will evaluate the nomination and get back to you with how we will engage from the FastTrack program side. If no nomination is created or the nomination is not qualified, you will still be able to implement through the self-serve model. Partners will find the nomination portal behind that AKA link you see there in the presentation. It's aka.ms/fdnom portal. So what does the nomination process look like? Well, it starts with the nominator providing as much information as possible about the planned Dynamics 365 implementation. We expect this to happen very early in the process so that there is adequate time to deliver a proactive FastTrack engagement. During the validation process step, we will consider the eligibility of the customer and the partner. And here we will look at investment and scope and partner qualification. We normally spend around 5 business days on this step before we get back to you. And it's going to be the nominator who will be receiving the initial communication from us. If the nomination is qualified, we will initiate a Microsoft-led engagement or a partner-led engagement. Now, both of them will have a kickoff where the partner-led engagement also will get access to the FastTrack implementation portal. For the projects that are not qualified, they will land on self-serve. And here we do offer proactive guidance through emails. For each finance and operations apps, there is a required go-live assessment before production is released. The FastTrack will look at the information you provide through project onboarding to know when you plan to actually go live. And we will be sending you the necessary information on what are the next steps. So how does that project onboarding look like? That's the next segment in our presentation. So now I'll give the word to Ariana to show us the project onboarding demo.
Thank you, Tommy. Hello, first of all, I am Ariana, and I will present the project onboarding in LCS. To have a better view and understand of the onboarding process, we will walk through a demo. Before we start, let me share some important notes and impressions to acknowledge. This step is to be done after obtaining the correct license and connecting them to the right tenant. After the creation of LCS project, you will be able and should start the onboarding. Project onboarding is accessible for implementation projects, and it is a mandatory requirement to be completed before the deploy of Microsoft management environments. LCS onboarding is required to manage the end-to-end project lifecycle. 2 important tips to share. The tenant admin will be emailed regarding this need, and last but not less important, choose who should complete the onboarding. Normally, should be the partner plus key customer project manager, technical lead, etc. As you can see, this will be a self-paced service driven by a wizard. Would like to drop an important note here. This wizard can be always accessed during and after the implementation, as well as updated if any information needs to be corrected. To access this project onboarding page, go to the hamburger menu and click on Project Onboarding option. This page will appear, starting by the Welcome page. This page provides general guidance and information that you will need to complete project onboarding. You can move through the wizard either by using the Next button and the Back button, or by selecting each step directly. Note that the right column of the page shows additional information that will help you to complete each steps. Let me show in the second topic, because on the first one, we do not have any additional information. More resources there. Passing for the project overview, what you should fetch and be careful on this part. To start, here we will find the overview of the implementation project. First, indicate the project name. Second, you should describe the vision and goals for the project in a few sentences. This information will help Microsoft understand the goals that you want to achieve and how you define success for the project. The partner NPN ID is important to introduce as well, since it's a mandatory field, which you can get from the information of the implementation partner team. In case the partner is not involved or not yet identified, choose the appropriate option in the implementation partner drop-down list. If you are going through an upgrade of AX 2012 or other legacy system, please indicate here that information. If your implementation is a demo project or if you're moving from another tenant, it's here that you should provide the details. And finally, on this page, you should specify the estimated number of user licenses after full rollout, including current license. Move through the project scope. Here you should provide information about how you plan to scope the implementation project. After you set the option for specific features to yes in this step, you must provide additional data that is related to those features and apps. This data will help Microsoft have a better engagement with you during the implementation. The additional data fields are mandatory. Define your team. First, verify that all project team members are invited and configured on the list. FastTrack will reach all team members during your implementation for implementation guidance. You should nominate at least one customer and one partner team member to be contacted by FastTrack team. In the end, each team member will be assigned to a project security role and an implementation role. The project security role is relevant to access to the LCS project workspace, and the implementation role is relevant to the individual team member's role on the implementation team. Passing for defining milestones. Define all mandatory milestone steps. Milestones are associated with the methodology of the project. If the milestone dates haven't yet been decided, use tentative dates. To edit milestones, select the pencil symbol. You should update the milestone dates as plans change. FastTrack team is using them specifically for sending proactive email guidance and go-live checklist reminder, so the dates are really important to get all communications and process in time. Connect Azure DevOps. Here you should associate the LCS and Azure DevOps to maintain the application lifecycle. Enter the root URL of your Azure DevOps account and the personal access token that you obtain from Azure DevOps. Important note, the Azure DevOps account should belong to the customer. DevOps is used for the integrations with Microsoft Product Support System, any custom code, business process, etc. Configure Azure DevOps. Map the work items between LCS and Business Process Modeler and acknowledge the setup. If you choose to use a customer process template, follow this best practice. Don't remove any existing work item types. Don't remove any existing state for a work item type. Don't add any required fields to a work item type. FastTrack page. That page is an introduction to the FastTrack program. It explains what the program consists of and how your implementation can benefit from it. FastTrack program have multiple engagement models depending on the project. We strongly recommend that you watch the existing Techtalks. Next steps. Here you will be able to find additional resources about the most critical aspects of the implementation. You can access this page at any time during the implementation. Complete onboarding. Finally, the last one. Please complete the onboarding so that you can move on the next steps in your implementation. You can complete project onboarding only after all previous steps have been completed and properly fed. If any previous steps haven't been completed, the complete onboarding button won't be available. Important to mention here as well, that FastTrack team will only continue to engage once onboarding has been completed, even if it has been nominated. Quick final note, you must provide the most current and accurate data as you complete project onboarding. After you complete project onboarding, this will be crucial on the next steps of the process and during the assessment with FastTrack team.
Awesome. Thanks, Ariana. Great demo here. All right. Let's dive into do's and don'ts in the onboarding. This is really important area, guys, since we will be sharing this information based on what we see in so many finance and operations projects at our end. So first is having an Azure Active Directory at customer end. If customer is using Microsoft Online Services first time, then we recommend you to work with your licensed resellers who will help you in signing up, having your AAD tenant first time. In case you already have Microsoft Cloud Services, which is very common nowadays, you have one, then use the same for licensing for Dynamics 365. Otherwise, if you have multiple AAD tenants, then you need to be careful here before procuring the license, that what tenant you would like to use for your Dynamics 365 apps. And we will cover more on the multiple tenants side here soon. We also recommend to use service accounts for such Azure Active Directory administration, such as CRM admins, global admins, etc. One example here, let's say the customer has multiple AAD tenants. Here what you see is AAD tenant 1 on the left, where you have Office 365, you have Dynamics 365 applications, and you may have multiple instances as well of Dynamics 365 apps, such as finance, supply chain instances, and it's all on same tenant 1. You have another tenant, which is AAD tenant 2 on the right side, where you have Office 365 licenses on that tenant, and also you may have non-Dynamics 365 applications running in your organization too. And you may set up the B2B collaboration between your AAD tenants for various benefits, single sign-ons, etc. Would like to highlight here, it's totally fine to have multiple tenants. In fact, it's very common to have multiple tenants in organizations at customer end. What we want to highlight here is that there are some advantages and some disadvantages of accessing cross-tenant in respect to Dynamics 365 apps. And we will talk about some of those disadvantages here as well. Okay, so here we have listed some of the disadvantages of cross-tenant access. This is what we have seen from various engagements at our end. There could be more than the ones listed here, and the ones listed here are like sending email, pinning the Power BI report, embedding the Power app in FNO forms, saving a new task guide, authoring the workflows, or even with integration with Power Automate under Power Platform. You may struggle with integration where you are using Dynamics connectors to connect to a different tenant. One thing we would like to highlight here again, it's totally fine to have multiple tenants and accessing cross tenants. And there are workarounds to most of these areas as well, such as saving the task guide. You plan your team in a way that your tenant team is responsible for creating, editing the steps in the task guides. Or in case of Power Automate, you build your own connectors in Power Platform, and that way you can overcome these workarounds basically. All right, another one, the licensing. Currently, the requirement is 20 full user licenses minimum requirement for finance, supply chain management, and commerce apps. You should always maintain your required licenses as per your business needs. And please let us know if you are intending to buy additional licenses before going live. The reason is it's important that your license count and your transaction volume is given in subscription estimator in the LCS. They both matters a lot in your production environment sizing before you go live. How do you check your license? You bought the licenses. You want to verify it at your tenant. Or you're following the next step, which is creating the LCS project. But LCS is not creating the project for you. Something is wrong here, right? LCS is not able to find the appropriate license at the AAD tenant, which you use to log into LCS. So how do you investigate that? It's easy. You go to admin.microsoft.com, go to billing, go to licenses, and then you can find what kind of Dynamics 365 licenses are assigned at your tenant. If you don't see the licenses in Admin Center, then you should contact your license resellers, and they will need to investigate the issue here. Okay, so you realize that you got licenses. Your LCS project is on wrong AAD tenant. What do we do here? You should contact your license reseller to map your licenses to the right tenant. We have also documented all the steps on the docs article. The link is here. How you can map license from previous tenant to the new tenant. How you go through other steps like LCS project creation, environments, sandbox, production, etc. We do recommend that you get the tenant fixed sooner rather than later. With time, it will add more components to be revised. For example, you caught it before creating the LCS project. Then you're mostly good at that time because right after buying license, you need to create the LCS project and you caught it before. So not much revision here. Another example where you realize it after having production, you are live already. Then you would need to plan better for another LCS project, all the environments moving, testing in the new LCS, deployments, builds, and then some downtime also for your production users ultimately. So yes, pay attention to the tenant. Okay. One more thing on the environment planning. We are not going to cover the entire environment planning here, right? That's a broad topic, and we do have a great tech talk on this already. The link is in the slide here. What we are covering here is environments you will get as part of license procurement. You will get a production environment once you complete your UAT, performance testing successfully, and based on the active subscription estimator with the transaction volume and your license count, your production will be sized. Additionally, you will get a sandbox tier 2 environment, we call it, for non-production usage. You can use it for any testing, your UAT, performance testing, data migration, etc. And you can even procure more based on your implementation environment planning strategy. There are multiple tiers from tier 2 to tier 5 in the sandbox environments. One more thing, use generic service accounts for environment deployments. Just like AAD administration, we recommend here also to use service accounts for deploying your environments in Dynamics 365 apps. This way, the IT department or others can also access if the admin on the account turns out to be not available. One more thing, use customer domain account and not the partner domain account for the service account here. Okay, so just a quick recap on all the do's and don'ts. On the do side, buy the appropriate license. You create the LCS project after buying license. You add key users from partner and customer side with the right roles and with their email accounts. You complete the LCS project onboarding. You validate the license if you see any discrepancy. And you do nominate customers if your partner is eligible and annual spend based on annual spend. What you should not do is implement finance and operations outside your subscription and outside the LCS. LCS is the tool for whole application lifecycle management from all the way up to go live, even further after. And also, please do not send email to onboarding team after you have completed the onboarding for any other implementation related questions. All right, so I will hand it over to Tommy here to talk about the success by design. Tommy?
Thank you, Saurabh. Yeah, let's spend a few minutes talking about success by design in this last segment of this tech talk. This is not going to detail success by design. There's other material that we have shared with you that you can access on demand. but we just want to spend some time on the success by design in this context. Now, you've probably seen how our FastTrack team has evolved over time, and any of you who has had the opportunity to engage with the FastTrack team in your projects, you will be able to attest to that. You've been with us for many years, and over the course of thousands of Dynamics 365 implementations where we have been involved, this is where we have accumulated a body of knowledge and experience, and it is from this that we developed the framework we call Success by Design. The Success by Design is based on 3 core pillars. We really want to have an early detection of risks and issues in the projects. Secondly, we want to have a well-structured, reusable, proactive, and prescriptive guidance that we and you as partner and customer can use to address common design and implementation challenges. Thirdly, we are setting the goal to achieve more predictable success across a wide array of implementations. Within the FastTrack team itself, we have experienced already that since creating the Success by Design framework and implemented it and used it, we have observed a more purposeful and actionable engagement on projects that we work with. We know that each project is unique and has its own special fingerprint, but Success by Design, it gives us a common framework, a common tool set that helps us all to achieve more predictable outcome for all of them. You will see FastTrack refer to Success by Design in our engagement, and we will be sharing more of this framework with partners going forward. That means that we will be sharing the material, the examples, and artifacts that you can be using when you execute the Success by Design workshops. If you worked with FastTrack in the past, you may recognize the layout of how we run the workshops and where they belong in the overall lifecycle of the implementation. Now, with Success by Design, we want to get initiated early on with the solution blueprint review, even before the actual implementation has started. We do understand that some plans might still be premature and not ready. So we are open for following up with a solution blueprint review in the early stage of the implementation phase when you are still designing. From the solution blueprint review, FastTrack might engage in additional implementation workshops where we discuss more specific topics. The solution blueprint review is the key driver for what kind of additional implementation workshops would be necessary. It is important, though, that these workshops this workshop is done in good time before the final preparation for the cutover and go live. Now, these workshops, they are designed to be used both in a Microsoft-led and partner-led Success by Design execution. FastTrack will be sharing the material with the partner, so in case they are leading the workshops, they will have access to the exact same material used by the FastTrack solution architects. Now, what kind of methodology you're using during the implementation, that is less important, as Success by Design is not really an implementation methodology, but it's meant as a framework that you can use independently of how you are implementing. And as you're getting ready to go live, this is where you would conduct a go live readiness assessment and review. This is just so that we know that you really are ready and we can expect that you will go live with success and confidence. And after you've gone live, this is when we consider you to be in the operate phase and your business is running in the new implementation, it's stable, it's successful. And this is where FastTrack, the FastTrack engagement will be graduated and concluded, and we will disengage. So let's look at the training itself and how do you get access to more information about Success by Design. So FastTrack for Dynamics 365 is sharing this training, and you will find this information on Docs. And you can also follow these AKA links in this demo to access the training. And we can also share the links directly in the Q&A section for you. So there's a 3 to 4 hour Success by Design overview training accessible on demand right now. It goes through what Success by Design is in detail, and much more than I've covered here, obviously. It goes over the content of the mandatory workshops and also what we normally cover in the implementation workshops. There's also a self-paced learning module on Microsoft Learn with a knowledge check. This is not to be confused with the knowledge check form, the one you see to the right-hand side. This is a check where we will be asking more specific about the Success by Design training, and this is also where we expect partner resources to test their Success by Design skills and understanding. Additionally, we hold regularly as FastTrack Solution Architect bootcamps, specifically for solution architects with some real-life experience on Dynamics 365 implementations. These bootcamps have received a lot of positive feedback, and we are really happy to see partners respond well to this training. The bootcamps are free to attend, but there is limited space. So whenever you see there is a bootcamp announced, I would strongly recommend signing up as soon as you can. We look forward to see how partners and customers can benefit from the Success by Design initiative. So this leads us to the end of this product onboarding presentation and tech talk. I think before you leave here, you really want to take note of these links. And perhaps, Saurabh, you can see if there's any interesting questions that we want to answer here on the recording itself.
Thank you, Tommy, so much. All right.
I can actually jump in here. I did look over the question and answer. It was mainly around licensing and annual revenue requirements, Tommy. So those have been answered with all the information we have in the chat window. So nothing additional that warrants discussion here from my perspective.
Thank you, Claudia. And I believe we have detailed this also in that partner-facing FastTrack resources landing page.
That is correct, in the partner FAQ. Mm-hmm.
Okay, do we have closing comments?
Team, if you have additional questions, you can still use the chat on the side to ask any questions. We are happy to answer here. In case you want to reach us later, please leave a note. We will provide our contacts as well. If not, I would like to thank you all. And I also want to talk about the implementation guide here, Success by Design. We recently published Success by Design implementation guide. It has been written by so many architects at FastTrack here, and with the experience of all. And it has content all the way from starting the project all the way up to going live to the support of the project. It does cover both customer engagement as well as the finance and operations in the Dynamics 365. We highly recommend you download the book here, and you can go through the whole, or you can pick the chapter by chapter based on your need here. Thank you so much for your time here.
Thank you so much. I dropped a short survey in the Q&A panel, and we'd like to see your feedback on today's session, and we'd like to hear what you would want to see in future events, and we thank you for any participation you have with that. As a reminder, the recording of today's session will be available on Techtalk's Community Dynamics page within 5 business days. I'd like to send a big thank you to our presenters. They were so great today, and I'd like to